I've known him for a very long time, so that chemistry we have on the court, is easier.
I'm from LA, so go, let's go.
We're done.
Former teammate James Harden.
Here comes Harden with the could make to that style.
I fit right in. Personally, I'm able to. The floor spread gives me a good opportunity to be able to attack, penetrate, kick. Defensively, give you an opportunity to be able to switch and guard and rebound at a high level. Push the break, gets us out on the break. A lot of different things, in my opinion. I think the style of play is great, and something I'm looking forward to, just in getting out space and open the floor, shooters all around, and playing that way.
Hey, Russell, can you talk about just the process of, in the back?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
In the back, from when you first even thought you could come to Houston, and just it seemed to happen pretty quickly. But can you talk about the process and how it was being a part of that?
It's a crazy process, honestly, but it was a collaborative effort. It was a process that obviously came very, very quickly, but I thought it was the best decision for me in my career right now, and to be able to reunite, with a brother, a friend, and to be able to do that is something that you dream about and you live for, and that's something that was exciting to me.
I guess everything is good until it's bad. Hey, I know you guys hate the cliches, but I love to say them sometimes, especially the super cliche ones. So we have the Houston Rockets seemingly falling apart right before our very eyes. We knew things were bad yesterday. We knew things were not going in the right direction for the Rockets. Things are way worse than we could possibly imagine. It's all so surreal to me because James Harden and Russell Westbrook seem like very good friends, and I'm sure their relationship will stay strong regardless of what happens in their playing careers going forward. You can have somebody be your brother, your family, but that doesn't mean you have to have a professional relationship with them where you like working with them. They always say friends and business don't mix. Well, I guess sometimes that can be true. I think Westbrook's and Harden's relationship, again, will go far beyond anything that has happened this past season, especially since my guy Harden is still out here wishing Westbrook a happy birthday. Yes, I did have to bring some positivity before I got into the Rockets falling apart like a bad game of Jenga. Subscribe right now because you will not want to miss another Getlikecoop video. And that's facts. A lot of people are going to come into this video and expect James Harden slander. Well, I'm not going to be the person slandering James Harden at all. You guys know how I feel about James Harden. I've made it abundantly clear. I think this is one of the best shooting guards to ever play the game of basketball. But at some point, we have to look back at James Harden and start to question some of the things that have been going on surrounding the Houston Rockets organization. When I went to a Rockets game this past season, it always seemed like James Harden and Russell Westbrook were operating on two different timelines. At the same time, I thought this yin and yang type effect could be a very good thing. Maybe they could sort of balance each other out. In games where the Rockets or James Harden would be disengaged, Russell Westbrook would be going 150%. I think that's just the type of player Russ is, and just because Harden doesn't look engaged doesn't mean he's not actively impacting the game of basketball in a major way. But I think that's where the problem starts to arise, at least for the Houston Rockets. Not long ago, Kobe Bryant went on record and said this regarding James Harden and his style of basketball.
I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships. But at the same time, you have to keep your team's head above water to win games. So you have to do what you have to do to win games, and he's doing that.
Kobe Bryant was right. When the Rockets were playing their best basketball, everybody was getting engaged. Chris Paul was touching the ball and also helping to make sure everybody on the offense was engaged, and not just a piece to some James Harden isolation puzzle. Game 7, man. No Chris Paul against the Golden State Warriors. An absurd amount of missed threes. The Rockets almost did it, but they didn't. The Rockets needed Chris Paul, while the NBA needed somebody to save them from the Warriors. It's insane to think about how good the Warriors were at their peak. And then the question starts to arise, what do you really call the Warriors' peak? Look, I don't know. I don't have the answers for everything. Me, Kevin Durant was unstoppable, but the chemistry on prior Warrior teams, it was unbeatable. This brings us to the wonderful topic of the Warriors acquiring Kevin Durant. How did the Warriors acquire one of the greatest small forwards of all time? The answer is easy. The Warriors culture was irreplaceable. Everybody wanted the Warriors culture on their team. It just so happens that Kevin Durant went to the culture, and then the culture kind of became a mess. But the point still stands. Culture in the NBA is so important. KD will be the first to tell you one of the major reasons he was drawn to the Brooklyn Nets. He liked what the Nets were doing. Everybody was bought in on a cerebral level. Look, culture doesn't just get you stars either. At the end of the day, it's a star-driven league, yes, but building a team goes far beyond just acquiring stars. You have to have great role players if you truly want to go out and win a championship. Nobody does it by themselves, though if you get caught in a basketball argument, you'll probably hear otherwise. Russell Westbrook? He's not messing with the Rockets culture at all. Reportedly, Westbrook's desire to leave Houston after one season derives from a culture mess down in Houston, a lack of cohesion and accountability behind the scenes. There's that word, accountability. Now, there's a lot of reports about Russell Westbrook wanting to have a role similar to his old role in OKC, that floor general role that Russell Westbrook played. I don't want to call these reports fluff, and I don't want to call it a lie from Russell Westbrook, because I do think he would enjoy his own team, but I think Russell Westbrook leaving the Houston Rockets is more so on the Rockets' culture and accountability. You see, culture, it starts at the top. Typically, if your star player isn't bought in, then it's going to be tough for everybody else to buy in. We saw the Los Angeles Clippers fall apart late in the postseason, and then a whole bunch of news surrounding the Clippers came out. Some of that news was about Paul George and his lack of accountability. In life, in general, being accountable will take you a very long way. If you go to a job interview and they ask you questions about why you didn't like your employer or things that went wrong, here's some pro advice. Show accountability. Be flexible. Go into situations not always looking to blame someone else, but also looking on what you can improve on. The Athletic reports a situation when the Rockets were on a major losing streak. Westbrook went around the room indicating what was wrong with each player and what they needed to do to fix the losing streak, starting with himself. When it came time to talk to James Harden, Harden wasn't having it. Now, there are some people that have mixed feelings about this gesture and Westbrook in this situation. I think it's a great thing to do. He was accountable. He didn't just attack everybody else. He diagnosed the problem and he found ways to improve. It's unfortunate that Harden and Westbrook didn't see eye to eye in this situation, but I don't think this was a one-time thing that occurred between Russell Westbrook and James Harden. If you watch this team play consistently, you could tell they weren't always gelling at the highest level. It's easy to imagine how something like that would frustrate somebody like Russell Westbrook. Everybody's talking about Russell Westbrook going to a situation where he just wants to stat pad, but Russell Westbrook has made it known he wants to win. Now, whether we believe it or not is one thing, but I think Westbrook has come to terms, if he gets traded, it might not be to a contender. And if Russ doesn't go to a contender, he wants to play high-level basketball. He wants to show everybody he's still Russell Westbrook, and I'm not mad at that. But it's tough to imagine that this whole situation is about his role in Houston. Look, we understand Russ wasn't necessarily the guy in Houston, but I would be lying if I would sit here and tell you that at times it didn't feel like Russell Westbrook's team. He was putting up MVP numbers for stretches of this season. So it's hard for me to imagine this is just about his role in the Rockets offense, but I could understand him not liking the way the Rockets played basketball, and also him being frustrated with James Harden. The Athletic reports Austin Rivers was barked at by Harden after James Harden missed a free throw and blamed Rivers for standing up by the bench for distracting him. I've always viewed Harden as really chill, so this news that I'm seeing, it's kind of blowing me away. I know CP3 and Harden didn't see eye to eye. I know Dwight Howard and Harden didn't see eye to eye. The way things are starting to come together, it's like the media is painting this picture of James Harden being this horrific teammate, and the picture is becoming more and more clear. Now, don't get it confused. That's not me saying Harden is a bad teammate, but if the media wants to portray him in that light, then I'm saying they're doing a very good job, especially if these reports are true. It's tough to imagine the Rockets situation getting any worse, because now you have guys like Eric Gordon, who was flat out terrible this past season, coming out and complaining about their role despite not being very good. You have guys like Daniel House coming out complaining about their role, and it's kind of surreal. Again, it's tough to believe. You got guys like PJ Tucker disputing their contract with the Rockets, which you understand that one, especially PJ Tucker being PJ Tucker at 35, 36 years old, being 6'5", 6'6", having to go out, battle centers every night, playing an absurd amount of minutes. That's tough for Tucker. I understand Tucker being frustrated. But I mean, for some of these guys, I felt the Rockets system led to a lot of overachieving. If you can't capitalize off of James Harden getting picked up by two guys as soon as he crosses half court, then where can you really capitalize? Gordon shot 37% from the field this season. He shot 31% from the three-point line. He was taking 8 a game. In 2017, he was taking 13.5 shots per game. This is the season he wants to go back to, or maybe 2018, he was taking 14 shots per game. Eric Gordon is taking the same amount of shots per game, essentially at 13 this past season. The difference is he's just not making as many. The regression with Gordon, whether it be due to injury or whatever, has been very real. Now, we've seen Westbrook draw interest from the Charlotte Hornets. I think that would be an interesting landing spot. Comment down below where you think Westbrook should actually end up. This news, it's really not so surprising to me because in NBA circles, being in NBA circles, you know, I've heard people talk about the disconnect between talent and production. When you come from college, you're the guy. You've essentially been the guy your whole life. So when you get to the NBA, you probably still think you're the guy. That's a very real thing. But to be unbiased, I do understand how playing in an isolation basketball system would kind of become pretty annoying. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support the channel. I'm Getlikecoop, bringing you guys the scoop. Until the next video.